All right, welcome everyone to the ASL Wi-Fi Season 2 Draft Analysis. I'm Hutch. Joined with me we have
It's me.
it's Brett.
Yeah,
We
it's
got
Brett.
we got the Bretts hosting the draft analysis. Didn't do this last season, but I feel like it was dearly missed. So here we are back. Um, got anything to say before we hop right into this, or
Uh, you know,
yeah, pretty standard. We had to give the best record team the number one overall pick, which was kind of stupid.
yeah,
Um,
we rigged it for him, just him.
yep. We thought it was a really good idea to give the best coach of last season. Didn't win the championship. The person who won the championship, ironically, was the last pick. But first overall, we had Pow. Had to be Pow. Pow's the best mod in the format, in my opinion. Um, do you want to take this team, or do you want me to start?
I can say a little something, I guess. I don't have notes written down for this one, but yeah.
Okay.
He took Pow again. He had it last season paired with Garchomp. And it did wonders for him. But I really like that he has Corviknight paired with it this time. Um, that really helps. And Reggie Lecky, let's just say this now. We changed our terror rules for anyone watching to Mons with 14 points or less, and Reggie Lecky, or is it below 14 points?
Below 14.
Below 14 points, and Reggie Lecky's the only one above that is allowed to Terra. So he has Terra Reggie Lecky on his team. I'm actually surprised that made it all the way back to him.
It shouldn't have.
It really
It
shouldn't
really
have.
shouldn't have.
But yeah, Chimpao paired with Corviknight's really nice. What did I? Oh yeah, I don't have anything written down for him. Uh, yeah, I don't have the skill of looking at a team and just talking about it right away. So Hutch,
Okay, you can calibrate your thoughts. Okay, so things I have written down. It's some intriguing offense. Chen Pao, Reggie Olecki. This is probably the most powerful bolt beam you could possibly like conjure up in Paldea decks. I would argue in Nat decks, Tapu Koko Bundle is better, but obviously you can't do that in Paldea decks. Um, I think Shen Pao Reggie Olecki is awesome. There's a lot of speed. Reggie Olecki being a Terra Captain obviously completely unlocks it. I really don't think it should have made it back to this point. Getting Corviknight is really, really good. Then we have Blaziken. You might be wondering why it's 15 points. We are Speed Boost Blaziken, which, in my opinion, is a fucking fraud. So we'll see if that's actually the case. I don't think Speed Boost Blaziken is very good, but I think at 15, it's worth a gamble. At 15, I think it could be like a good sweeper, but if you remember, like back in the Gen 6 days, Blaziken was good because you could baton pass speed and you could baton pass swords dances. It just made it so much better. I think it's okay. Like I said, you could, run a choice band set and yeah, eventually you're going to be faster than everything. But that first turn, you're base 80, which is really slow. Um, some other things I wrote down. There's good hazard removal on this team. Corviknight's the best defogger in Paldea decks. Regieleki is a solid rapid spinner just because it really doesn't need that many moves. But in terms of hazard setting, it's really brutal for this team. Quillfish Asui jumps out, obviously. But then other than that, for rocks, it's like Uxie has to be rocks all the time, which is fine. It can usually afford it. Otherwise, Rhyperior has to be a thing. And I think this team just relies too much on Rhyperior. Like, take away Rhyperior, this thing gets absolutely obliterated by every electric type. So I think I would have preferred a better ground type. For Corviknight, I think having a good ground type for Corviknight is extremely important. And it's a solid team. I love the offense. It's really cool. Shenpao and Regieleki might just make it not matter. And obviously, Fist is a very, very good coach. Proved that last season. But I don't know. I don't love Rhyperior. I would have liked a little bit more of a reliable ground type.
can
We'll
we
see.
can we
What's up?
call not having a very good ground type Camerupt syndrome?
Yes, that is the Riverside Rollers season 19 syndrome. That where every mock against you, I bring an electric type because you can't do shit about it. I will say Rhyperior is better than Camerupt.
Yeah, it
I will
is.
say to be clear, Rhyperior is a little bit better than Camerupt, but Yeah, I just think not having a good ground type is just really detrimental, especially when you don't have something like a Volt Absorber. But we'll see. Again, the offense might just make it not matter in a lot of cases. So overall, a solid team. So give it a B plus. Have you collected your thoughts?
No, I was
Okay,
listening to you
perfect.
the whole time. Dude, my ADHD sucks, man. It really does.
You're gonna have to bring it together for the next
Hold on,
what,
I
like
can talk
2
about my
hours.
team. I gave Fist's team an A because Chim Pao Reggie Lucky is so fucking strong that honestly, like a lot of teams aren't going to be able to prep well for that. So
Yeah, that's like this team has glaring holes, but those two together kind of just make it like who the fuck cares because just can't swap into both of them.
yep.
So all right,
All right.
go ahead, talk about yourself.
Moving on to my team, I gave myself an A minus. I really wanted to try out Zamazenta because everybody was like, instead of just banning Hal, just let it have free reign. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it, and I picked it. So I basically what the fuck did I just kick? Uh, I drafted my team around Zamazenta. I really like Garganackle. I haven't got to use that
Goat
thing yet.
Ganackle,
I usually call him Gargle Nipple.
Gargle Nipple.
Yeah, Gargle Nipple.
I
So
expect that to be the nickname.
yeah, that will be in. I mean, I don't know if Nipple is an allowed nickname. Why? I need to.
Maybe NIPL, maybe.
Yeah, in IPL. But I gave it the Ghost Terra and the Fairy Terra, because it does take less damage from Ghost types because of its ability, and having Ghost is really nice in that thing. I'm really excited to try out Sensino here. I also have it in another Wi-Fi League right now, so I'm kind of double dipping into that. I didn't honestly, I didn't know this thing got tidy up until I think Hutch told me. Uh,
It's a
I,
nice touch.
yeah, it gets tidy up, so that's some nice removal there. Glimora I put on here just for corrosion shenanigans. Salazzle was already picked at the time, so Glimora is the next best thing. I'm excited to try out Ogre Pawn Wellspring. I really like its typing. It can also be defensive as well. I have run it in VGC. Um, I have yet to run it in singles, but it it hits hard with Ivy Cudgel and everything. Latias is a good defensive and supportive piece here. Zapdos is really good. He can run defensive and offensive sets with it, and I like to paralyze everybody with that thing. Um, Crocodile is really nice. You can just knock off everything's item, and Earthquake coverage is really nice there. And honestly, I'm really excited to try out Baynet here at the bottom. I initially wanted Miss Magius, but freaking Fist took it from me right before I could grab it. Um, but I think this thing's gonna be better actually. It has a better attacking stat and basically the same supporting options.
Yeah, I this is the second highest team that I rated. Um, I think the biggest thing about Zama is a deadly late game mod. So the way you have to draft around it is being very critical about how you deal with the mid game, and you have Ogre Pawn and Zapdos, which are Zapdos is the goat. Let's just be clear. Zapdos is him, but there's such good mid gaming where Ogre Pawn has a lot of you could just throw off Ivy Cudgels, knockoffs, U-turns. Zapdos is very easy. 3 attacks Bruce is just insane on that thing. Latias can just drop Dracos in and out of the game. Glamora can deal with the hazards. Um, so there's a lot of ways that Zama gets set up in this game or in this team, which is really important when considering a Zama team. I don't love the Glim versus Garg, and now that you've said the corrosion, that makes a lot more sense because I do like it. In that sense, you kind of lack a true bulky water grass, which, yes, Ogre Pond might be a little bit more defensive, but I feel like the way that this team is operating currently, you're gonna want it to be offensive more. Just because if we're talking about like middle of the game, you're gonna want either Crocodile or Ogre Pond to be your physical attacker, and I think Crocodile has some defensive options here. Um, but I think overall this team is really good. I would have maybe liked the fairy type because you don't really have a lot of good ways to kill dragon types other than Latios, which is a little suspect. But Garg is gonna be pretty happy running fairy type a lot of the time. That is like the OG Dragapult answer in Paldea decks. But I just think your defense is really good. Garg and Zapdos are phenomenal together. And yeah, I just think there's a few things that I would have liked done better, but honestly, Flareon's good value. Bayonet will be interesting. Cincino's interesting. I'm willing to see how it works out. I think another removal option is good because Mortal Spin is not the best because Steel types already want to swap in on Glamora, so it's really easy to spin block Glamora. But I think overall this is a really, really solid team. I'm in the business of drafting good Pokemon, and you drafted a lot of them, so makes it just a really good overall team. And I think Zama will get a few sweeps this season. All right, moving on to the next team. Uh, I'll let you go first because I'm gonna be a little bit more critical of this team than you are.
Okay, so this is the first team I actually have notes for.
Perfect.
So first thing looking at first, the first thing I see looking at this team is he has two fighting types and two dark types. I do like the double dark with the two fighting types. So I think his offense is decent with Urshifu, Chiyu, Halucha. But once we get to the defensive side, that's where things start to go a little bit downhill. So Scissor's doing a lot. It's a decent defogger, but like you do want to run offensive Scizor sometimes, and you're kind of forcing it into a defensive role all the time with this team, which it does not like. He has okay pivoting, not the greatest, and his team is really slow. I don't know what else to say. I think I also would have liked to see a ghost type on his team.
Yeah.
Because he currently doesn't have like he doesn't have a ghost type. And he would really benefit from a ghost type.
Especially in a double fighting team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean the big headlines for this team are it's really slow. Up until he actually free agented Halucha, this team was extremely slow. I think before that there's not a single thing over base 100. Um which notably Halucha does get defog, and I think bulky Halucha is actually pretty good. It wasn't drafted, but it's one of the few like Urshifu single like decent answers. Crazy that Urshifu single wasn't drafted, but either way, I gave it a C plus, and it's probably the harshest one that I've been on. Like you said, Scizor has to do so much. This is the most important mon I think on any team, because if Scizor is dead, just think about how much struggles this team has. Clodsire has to run Water Absorb a lot of the time because this team just gets obliterated by Water type moves, which is not really fixed by Terras because it's just Scizor being Water Terra, but you don't want to swap into a Scald. I think this team gets cooked by Fire moves as well because you don't have a Dragon type and your Fire and Water types are both offensive. And Scizor is not helped by the fact that your only Water type is Urshifu. I think there's a lot of fun offense. Urshifu, Chiyu, off the top of my head, like that's something I've thought of, something I've considered drafting before. It's yes, I don't like that it overlaps speed tiers, but I think it's really, really good, typing wise, obviously. The Mamo Clodsire is also just kind of weird, I guess. I don't know. There's just like, it's not a bad team overall. Like I think the pivoting is like okay, but I feel like Scizor always has to be defensive. I feel like Halucha always has to be defensive. And then I just feel like Thwacky's just kind of a weird pick. Like, are you like thinking that you're going to run terrain with Halucha? I don't see the merit in that. And I don't think Bastiodon's good. I don't think Smeargle at 4 points is worth it at all. Um, I just think those are kind of like not the most useful picks. Um, I like again Urshifu, Chiyu, Scizor, even Halucha because I'm a big advocate for defensive Halucha, and I think Grimmsnarl pivoting around is really good. But it's just there's just not a lot of speed to go off of. The defense is a little suspect. Like I would probably want to see Mamoswine get free agented for something, just because I feel like the team has enough offense without it, and it's just kind of there. Like you also have grassy terrain with double ground type, where they both have to run Earthquake, which is not ideal. So it's not bad. There's good pieces all around. It's just together it's maybe not the best, but I could be wrong. Again, in Paldea decks, good offense always trumps good defense. There's good offense here, so it could just might not mattering. Same argument with that we said with Fist, but
Yep.
there's a couple glaring issues that I think are very exploitable. Okay, so next up we have the Lumios City Greninjas, coached by Spider, and I think this is like probably the most like steady Eddie team. Like this is just a solid, good overall team. I think there's a lot of really scary sweeping options. Iron Boulder gets to run booster energy. Annihilape is obviously a demon. Superior is a Terra captain, so the stellar contrary stuff that everyone's afraid of. Um, Sandy Shocks could be booster energy. I am a big advocate for Salazzle. My favorite corrosion user, just a great ability. Mandibuzz, Gudra Hisui, really good defensive backbone. Araquanid's actually really interesting here. I actually like what it brings defensively to the team, and physical waters really slept on. Cryogonal, not bad. Wigglytuff, I would have liked a little bit better of a fairy. And then Swalot, decent bulky poison since Salazzle's not exactly bulky. But yeah, I mean, good speed, good overall everything kinda. Like there's not really one issue with this team, which is why I give it a B plus. So yeah, it's a solid team. Um, Nothing stands out as super terrifying just because I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Boulder. I haven't seen enough, and I really think it's gonna miss the fighting type as opposed to Terrakion. Like not having stab CC is kind of rough, but I mean, 100% accurate Mighty Cleave. That's just awesome. So overall, a really solid team.
I think one of like my biggest note that I had is like he does have like a tiny bit of slow pivoting with Mandibuzz, but I really like having some slow pivots on this team to get into the Iron Boulder a little bit more. Because just having that 100% accurate rock move is so valuable. I also feel like his team might struggle against dragon types. Because
Yeah.
Gudra Hisui, it's such a good special wall, but it also is part dragon type. So I could see him struggling there a little bit with dragon types. But other than that, he has good hazard options and status options as well as good removal.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, this team gets majorly spammed on by dragon types because he only has Wigglytuff and he didn't fix it with Terra options either.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually intrigued why Araquanid is electric Terra, but like I said, I think Fairy would have been a lot better served. But yeah, again, there's not a lot of glaring holes to this. I think Serperior is a little early in round three. I mean, I'm not the biggest. I think 12 points is a fair price. I just think round three is really early for it. But it's a lot of scary stuff. It's a lot of what ifs for this team, I think.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of holes opened up for Iron Boulder. Maybe would have liked a special water, but I think I like Araquanid in this case. So overall, not bad.
Yeah, the spider had to draft the spider.
I know. It's sad that he didn't also draft Spidops instead of Swallow, but whatever. Okay. My team next. The Miami Delphinions. You want to start us off?
Sure. So, like, the first thing I notice is that you're pretty ground weak, other than Gyarados and Kilowattrel, but I do like that they're both your Terra captains. You can get rid of the rock weakness that comes with most ground types having rock coverage. Um, you have really good pivots, great hazard removal, and I like that I like that you have wish support. I just don't like I hate Florges a lot,
Same.
but the special defense that comes with it is really nice. I just think you can do some setup stuff with it, but I find every time I've drafted Florges, it tends to be really passive. But I mean, our Chaldon really benefits from the wish support, so yeah, I see its place there. And you got I made you draft Venusaur. I'm excited to see you use that thing. Uh,
That is the reason my team has grown weak. I want you to know that.
you are very welcome.
Yeah. So I think this is overall a pretty good team. Um, I will say with Florges being passive, true, and I do normally hate Florges, but it is important to note it is not setup fodder anymore because it gets a luring voice, which A is a sound move, so it'll go through substitute setup, and B, if you don't know what a luring voice does, if the opponent has used a setup move on the turn, they will get confused. So as long as Florges is slower, which is probably true most of the time, then I can confuse them. So a little bit less setup fodder.
See,
But
but
yeah,
the thing
overall,
is, Hutch, knowing you, they won't get plagued by the confusion. They'll
oh, true,
break
they'll
through it
break
every
out
time.
every single time. Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, Florges is the one mod on this team where I was like, ugh, I don't know about that. But it is 3 points cheaper than Sylveon, so I was like, okay, whatever. The overall thought process of this draft was let's just get good Mons. I'm in the business of drafting good Mons. That's what we're gonna do. Started out with Great Tusk, the most versatile roll compression in the format. So why not? Greninja, really good. High speed. That was the other thing that I really wanted to hit on. I suck at drafting hazards in Paldea, and I suck at drafting speed in Paldea. So my first three picks, awesome hazards, awesome speed. Then had to grab something new in our Chaladon. I originally had some ideas of like Great Tusk Pecharunt, but our Chaladon was just kind of better. I'm really excited for Terra Gyarados. It it's really good with Terra Flying, obviously. Terra Spam, it benefited a lot in Gen 7 from Z moves, but now we can use Terra Blast. Dragon on there, it does get Scale Shot, so that's something to keep in mind. Kilowattrel, I was unfortunately sniped on Jolteon, but honestly, Kilowattrel's just better. Houndstone was mainly there for like Edge Quake. I was very weak to it other than that. And I'm actually like really good into every weather. Really good into Sun with Ogerpon, Venusaur, and Great Tusk. Really good into Rain with Archaludon, Greninja, Gyarados, and Kilowattrel. So I think I'm also decent into Sand as well because I have Houndstone. So the only thing that I'm not great into is Snow. But yeah, overall, just a really solid team, and Florida's Fraud Alert is definitely something to keep an eye on because I don't like Florida's either. But it had to happen in this case. But overall, I like the team. I wish I could have built around Venusaur more, but this is what we landed on.
Yeah, you should
But
have drafted a Torkoal or a Ninetale.
I almost went Great Tusk Raging Bolt.
That would
I
have been
almost did.
sick.
But then I was like, well, Great Tusk, Raging Bolt. I was still on the Pecharunt train, so I was like, oh, that's like all the same speeds here. And I was just like, fuck it, I'll just do Greninja, and then Ogerpon looks good, and then started building out the team from there. So yeah, there's a weird speed gap from 87 to 110, which is like awful, but you know, it is what it is. All right, moving on to Nico's team. You want to take this one?
Sure. Um, Something that I see as soon as I look at this team is I don't like that his removal is so low tier. Um, it kind of forces those mons to almost always come or get stuck being hazard stacked against. Um, and I also would have liked to see a faster offensive threat above Ambipom. Like, I do really like Ambipom. I'm a big Ambipom lover. I'm currently using it, but it doesn't get Tail Slap in this gen. And I like Tail Slap on that mon, and I just think it being the fastest offensive threat isn't the greatest. He has really good support options with Jirachi. It's been a really long time since I used Jirachi until recently, but it's always been really good. At least in the Showdown League, it's been to I think a few different championships. Um, and then
I think so.
I'm sorry, what?
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think TCP had it on one of his championship teams. Um,
That sounds right.
and yeah, I'm really excited to see Gouging Fire and regular Grass Ogerpon. I've yet to see regular grass or Gupron used in draft, but I'm really excited to see that thing. And Landorus is always a threat with being able to use sheer force.
Yeah, so I overall like this team. I want to re-hit on something you said where it's like the speed tiers are really rough for this team, which I agree. Um, Gouging Fire 93, Landorus 101, Ogerpon 110, Jirachi 100. Like they're all floating in that same boat where it's like your highest speed tier is Ambipom, which it's not the best speed, but I will say this team is really setting up Gouging Fire, which I really like. I like Landorus Ogerpon, the offensive, the pivot ability. Heracross is interesting here. Um, I think Gouging Fire opens Heracross up a little bit. Heracross can also run spikes. I don't think you need it really for that though, because you have Ogerpon. Um, so I think overall, like, not bad. Like, good use out of Terra Captains. Like, I would have maybe changed Avalug's Ice to Rock. But that's really niche anyways, because you're gonna be Ghost and Water most of the time. But yeah, really good Terra Captains. You also get Toxtricity on there for Terra Normal, which is just ridiculous. Um, but it's kind of rough on the hazard control side of things. Like you said, your only removal is Avalug in Volibee, which Avalug isn't bad, but I used normal Avalug last season, and it's like if you don't really want to be hazard control and um a wall because you have to commit like rapid spin and recover, and then it's like, okay, do you run like ice move plus body press, but then you're also kind of setup fodder, and it's just you don't want to be both. And I think he's kind of pigeonholed himself into like being super like bad at like really bad against hazards. I almost wish he got Cincino instead of Ambipom, but I know you picked Cincino like in round 7, I think.
Yeah, I picked it before he could.
Yeah, but like overall, this is a really good team at setting up Gouging Fire, I think. Um, Again, Landorus and Ogerpon is really good. I think Primarina with the flip turn ability is also really good. There's a lot of high pivoting. Toxtricity is good. So we'll see how Gouging Fire does. I would have maybe liked for him to draft Veil. I mean, not for me, but for him. I would have liked to see him draft Veil or Grimmsnarl or something because Gouging Fire is just such a devastating setup mon. That can also run booster energy in this, which is just a horrifying idea. Um, yeah, we'll see. It's not a bad team. I just think the speed tiers are probably my biggest concern outside of removal options because removal is just hard in Paldea, so it's only so much you can fault him for it. But I think the speed is almost the biggest concern for me because it's like you have very compressed speed tiers and you also don't have a lot of top end speed. But
Yeah,
overall, good team.
I'm just hitting on one last thing. I also, looking at it, I would have also liked a special wall that had some recovery.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only other thing that I want to add there. Primarina is a good special wall, like running Calm Mind, sub, and that kind of stuff. I love Primarina, but it just doesn't have recovery outside of what draining. Does it get draining kiss?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's it's basically its only recovery. That's the only other fault I really see here.
And if you're running Wish on Jirachi, you're just trolling. So, like, Jirachi gets Wish, but if you're using Wish on Jirachi, you are not using Jirachi properly. I'm sorry, you were just not. Like, Jirachi is very bad with Wish. So, yeah, the walls are kind of suspect in that regard. So, all right, moving on to the Shining Iron Dancers. We have Quinn, who was the only person to not take a premier pick with their first overall pick. We have Terra King Gambit, which I am of the opinion that King Gambit is dog shit in draft. It's usable with Terra. I've never seen it be crazy with Terra though. So we're kind of just like testing it out, seeing how good it is. Because I just think King Gambit is so much worse in draft because it's like it's not that hard to prep for, to be honest. Like even with these good Terras, it just loses to Steel type, or Ground type, or anything. But we'll see. I'm of the opinion that it sucks, but I'm willing to see it with Terra. Um, but I think this team, when you look at it, it's one of those teams. Yes, it's very top heavy, but I actually think he made good use of the one pointers. Like Charge a Bug, it has a use. Like what we want out of our one pointers, we want them to have a job. Charge a Bug can set up webs. Monferno, I actually had Monferno last season. Can set up rocks. It's actually pretty good, like defensively. Um, Solid defensive typing. Gets utility like U-turn, Mach Punch. I don't know if it got knockoff. I know Infernape got knockoff. I'm not sure. But it also gets Stealth Rocks, which is interesting. And then Quaxwell, good low tier spinner. I believe it also gets Moxie, so solid. Just doesn't get close combat. But I think a lot of stuff just should not have fallen. Like Sneasler in round 8 is just stupid. Um, I think Terapagos in round 4 is also kind of stupid. I don't know where I land on the Terapagos debate. At first, when it first came out, I thought it was like slightly worse than Great Tusk, but like fits into the same mold. I'm starting to fall a little bit on it, but it's still a really, really good mon. It's the second best spitter in the format. You just can't deny that. But the synergy here is King Gambit. Latios is really good. Latios obviously getting buffs with like Flip Turn. Enam, I'm not a big Enam fan because it's just not fast enough for not having pivoting, but overall, not terrible. But I think Swampert's really good. Swampert gets a buff, it gets knockoff, it's really good. Rotom Heat's really good here. Electrode Hisui, I think, is awesome, especially putting Terra on it. And then, like I said, Sneasler. So this is a really, really good team. There's a lot of good synergies, a lot of good mons that were drafted. Um, I don't think other than Sneasler, there's like one mon that really jumps out. It's like, oh my god, that thing is horrifying. Maybe Latios into the right team, but I think that's fine because there's again 8 mons at the top that it's like these things are threats every single week. So overall, pretty good team.
Yeah, I put this thing at B plus. Mainly whenever I see King Gambit, I honestly feel like people overrate that thing.
So
Um,
much.
like I used it. Like you don't want to give it Terra, but it's also like one of the worst mons ever without Terra. Using it
In
in
draft.
yeah, in
For all
draft.
the ladder people in draft.
Yeah, in draft. Whenever I used it in Showdown of the ASL, it's just one of those mons like you really want to bring it, but it just feels so bad bringing it. I think Lily also shares my qualms with it, and I know you do. But
Yeah.
even with the Terras, I feel like if it's brought in at the right time, it honestly it can steal games. Um, it can also carry games if you just let it set up on you, but if you prep properly for it, I don't think Terra King Gambit is all that scary. Honestly, I'm usually more scared of Latios than a King Gambit. To be fair, he
Yeah.
has really good pivoting. Rotom, Swampert, Electrode, Latios, Sneasler, and even his low tiers get pivoting. It's pretty crazy, actually. He has so much pivoting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully he can get some wins with Terra King Gambit, but I don't know. This was kind of an experiment for this season, allowing King Gambit to Terra, so we'll see how well he uses it.
Which for reference, King Gambit could also Terra last season, which Hunky used it. But the reason it's so good in ladder is because of all of its immunities and its roll compression and its unpredictability with terraing. But like there's no 3 terras that this thing can have that make it just unbeatable. So I don't know. Maybe we'll change our opinion on that, but I'm still of the opinion, even looking at a team that really well supports it, I'm still of the opinion that it's not that good. But I think it'll be interesting. We'll see. All right. You want to go ahead and take away Godbear with
Yep.
the Chicago Phalanx?
Next we have Godbear. I wrote down one thing for this team, and it is I love pairing Glow King with Ice Dragons.
Yep.
Uh,
Real. So real.
like I like no matter which one it is, Kyurem Black, Excalibur, pairing Glow King, even regular Slow King with an Ice Dragon is insane. Um, the only thing that I don't like with Kyurem is that it lost Roost, but even without Roost, it's amazing. Um, yeah, that's all I wrote down.
Perfect. So yeah, Kyurem is him basically. Um, I love Slowking Kyurem. It's just Slowking is so good, dude. Why did Glow King make it to the second round? I'm of the opinion that this thing should always be in the first round or the very one of the very first picks of the second round. Pick 17 looks like it was in the middle, middle-ish.
Yeah.
But while I do love that, I love Clefable in this team. Not for me, but for him. Treads is one of the best spinners in the format. Cleaver is really good support with rocks. I think Chestnut is a really pivotal defensive piece for this team because it is a little ground weak. Ground spam is a little bit of a concern because the only thing off the ground is Mismagius, which will just die to a knockoff. Um, but looking through this team is really good. There's a lot of support, but it's like, what are we supporting? You have Kurum and what else? Like that this team would be so good if there were less supporting pieces and actual like more focal points almost. Because it's like if you kill Kurum, this game just gets so much easier. Like it just simplifies the game because Slowking is a supporting piece, Clefable is a supporting piece. It could be a defensive focal point, but a lot of the time it's a supporting piece. Iron Treads as well, Cleaver as well. Like unless like I mean Terra Blastoise with Shell Smash is interesting to say the least. I think it got a few physical water moves as well, so I can make use of it on both sides. Um, so I think there's obviously this is a team that sets up Kirim for success. But my issue is like you said, Kirim lost Roost, which is important because it can't be this bulky, annoying, a nuisance for as long, but it still obviously can hit super hard from the special side with Dracos and Ice Beams. But it also gets Scale Shot and it gets Dragon Dance. Loaded Dice is really good on it. So it's a really good all around, like do everything type of wall breaker. My concern is that I feel like you could just over prep Kurum and be fine. Because there's not a lot of other things that are going to really spook you outside of, again, like a Shell Smash Blastoise is really scary. Um, so I would almost prefer again something else to maybe help Kirim, like take attention off of Kirim, like something else you have to prep for. But again, you're supporting Kirim. I have faith in Kirim. Ice Dragon is literally a goated typing. So I think if Kirim gets a fuck ton of kills every game, the team's gonna be good. And if Kirim doesn't put in work, there are gonna be some rough games. But yeah, it's just a very lean on Kurum heavy team, which I mean, hey, it works for LeBron, so maybe Kurum's LeBron. but yeah, overall pretty good, but we'll see how much Kurum has to deadlift. Okay, moving on to the next one. We have the Savannah Sharpedos, not drafting Darkrai this time. Darkrai was available this time. Opts to go for Palafin. Um, I think this is a good Palafin team. I think this is a really like very well thought out Palafin team. Palafin had some good moments last season. Maybe not the most used, but it still had really good moments nonetheless. My issues with this team come at the point where it's like this team gets spammed by a lot of things. Ghost spam, fire spam, ground spam, flying spam. Like there's a lot of typings that just destroy this team defensively. Like your wall core is like Sylveon, Fortress, Tauros, Slowbro, kinda. And again, get back to the point where it's like in Paldea, like good offense trumps like good defense, but it's just still a bit of a concern because outside of Deoxys speed, we're not really the fastest team. Um, like Palafin Space 100, Flygon Space 100. Yes, you have Sceptile with Shed Tail, which I think is a really good point of this team because it can enable Deoxys speed. I think Deoxys speed is a menace in Paldea decks. So I think there's overall really good ideas to set up Palafin here. I also love Conkeldurr. Makes it so that's not his only removal in Fortress, which is interesting to note. Yeah, I think overall it's a solid team. There's some defensive concerns here. There's a little bit of double up typing going on, mainly in double psychic, just because I don't think psychic's a good type. But Yeah, I think there's a lot of good offense. I think Palafin is going to have a lot of success having some hazard support with Deoxys speed and Fortress, um, and then a lot of pivoting. And the fact that you have Shedtail was Sceptile, which is just terrifying when we consider that he has a Terra Flygon, which Flygon got better. I believe it got Rocks, which was the buff, and then obviously just Palafin being Palafin. So overall, really solid team.
Yeah, I I don't like because I don't know. I hate running defog on Conkeldurr. Um,
Oh, true. It sucks on Coghelder, but it's
I look
funny.
at this team. I don't look at Conkeldurr as a removal option. He only has Fortress, which I hate. Just bring a Ghost type, and then he can't get rid of your hazards basically. Um, Fun fact: this was the only team that drafted Shedtail support.
True.
Pretty sure. I don't think anyone has Cyclizar or Earthworm, but it
Nope.
works really well with Palafin. Like Hush said, this is a pretty good Palafin team. It has basically all the support it can ask for. I don't know what Galari and Slowbro does. I'm gonna be real. I don't. I've never looked at that
Quick
mod.
Claw, Quick Draw is allowed. It's a 44% chance to proc every turn.
Oh, okay, that's what Slowbro Galarian does. Um,
And it
and
kills grass types for this team.
yeah, but all in all, it's a really good Palafin team. The only other thing is that Hutch was saying that it's very spammable. Like the most spammable thing into this team is flying. He has 0 flying resist. Even
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Steel Flygon is his flying resist. So
Which, I mean, that might come a lot, but you definitely don't want to have to rely on that. I didn't even realize that. I was thinking he might need a flying type to help out with Palafin and the grass types, but yeah, it's actually a good point.
yeah, that's literally his only flying resist. Like, is Swellow in Paldeodex? I don't know. Okay,
No.
Swellow's not in Paldeodex, but just bring a flying type. That- just bring a flying type.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah,
I have to say.
Fly spam is really good at this team. Okay, moving on to the next team. We have the Garden State Arbaluvas, our resident donkey in the server. Would you like to start this one off?
Yes. The only thing, okay, this team is amazing.
This team
Honestly,
is
Goaded.
everything is good on this team. Literally, I had to look at the fine details of this team to find something to even say. Because the only thing I can really ask for is that there's another U-turner, and it's not even that bad of a thing because you got fucking Rotom Wash, you got Tornadus, it, you got Baton Pass with Dodge Button. Like, come on, this team is amazing. Like, Valiant is gonna do so well. It like doesn't even matter that he has 2 fighting types. Um, Garchomp, goated. Terra Metagross is amazing with Bullet Punch and everything. Overcool with Hazards is gonna be great with Intimidate support. It's just an amazing team in general. Maybe his Torn will have eyes this season, unlike Hutch.
No, he won't. Fuck that mon.
dog shit mon. It's the reason I got swept by Great Tusk. But I don't ever give out A pluses. But this team is straight up insane. This is the core that I wanted to draft last season. Fist sniped Garchomp for me. But this was the core that I wanted last season, and this is honestly a better version than whatever I was going to make. Because this is the only team that I can confidently look at the entire roster and say all 11 Mons are threats. All 11 Mons have a purpose. All 11 Mons are threats. And it's not even like, oh, well, his team must be like super middle of the road everywhere. No, 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 no. He has Valiant, Garchomp, and Torn T. There's a lot of top end shit. Um, he got sniped on Scizor. I know he got sniped on Scizor, but I actually like Metagross better. As a bulky steel, I think Terra Steel Metagross is really, really good. Um, one of the few like solid POW answers. Um, but another thing is this team has 9 Mons that have immunities. The only thing that doesn't have an immunity is Magmortar and Hitmonchan, which is really, really good in terms of like being able to pivot because, like you said, this team only has um, Torn T with U-turn, Rotom Wash with Volt Switch, and Doxbun with Baton Pass. And a part of me is like, well, that's not a lot. But the other part of me is like, well, Rotom Wash and Torn T are coming every single week to where I don't really care because I mean that's going to be good enough. I think Torrentee is one of those point guard esque mons where it's like it can just facilitate the whole game. Rotom Wash, obviously a good defensive mon, and Doxbund is probably the best low tier fairy in my eyes. Maybe Diancie gives it a run for its money. Um, but dude, this team is just so disgusting. Everything that he got. Like Iron Valiant, Garchomp, Torrentee, great combo already. Rotom Wash shores up the ice type weakness. You reinforce it with Metagross and you fix the fairy type weakness. He finds a gem in Magmortar at 3 points. Makes it a Terra Captain. That thing is a belly drum menace. Bramblegast is solid removal. Like he doesn't have the greatest removal, which is the other knock that I will give him. But again, I think Bramblegast is like pretty okay. Hitmonchan's also another removal option. So I think like his removal options are like okay. But he also has Overquill, which can just set spikes up. Garchomp also a good spiker. And if you can force hazards on your opponent's side, then you could say, okay, well, you can defog it or we can both play on hazards, which is another way to circumvent rough hazards. Like I said, Doxbund's really good low tier fairy. Hitmonchan is solid. Maybe not my favorite Terra Captain. I know he couldn't afford Arboliva, which I would have preferred Arboliva as the Terra Captain here. Yeah, Arboliva also really good. Arboliva is a Flutter Mane check, just so we're clear. But Flutter Mane's obviously banned because people are scared. But this is one of the best teams I've seen in a long time. Like during the Showdown video, I didn't give out an A+ if I remember correctly. But dude, there are so little critiques that I have to give this team. This team is so good. Like Hunky is in prime position to have a good season with this team. It just looks so fun. But yeah, I mean, nothing else to say. This team is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I don't have any notes written down for the last team, so I wanna start off this next one.
Okay.
Next guy in the list is Cricket, and this man said nobody in the league is allowed to have speed. This is probably why a lot of people don't have very good speed. Like I don't know, it just kept happening. Like fucking Meowscarada, okay, decent first round pick. Nobody picked up Dragapult. Okay, pick 14.
Dude, that was stupid.
Dragapult. Pick 35. Cinderace, hello. Pick 38. Fucking Iron Bundle. What the fuck's happening? Pick 5. Jolteon. Jesus. Like, apart from the speed, like, he has such good speed. Like, it's gonna be tough, like, defensively a little bit, but, like, as soon as you kill the Scream Tail, this thing falls apart to really good offense. Yeah, there's way too much speed. Jesus.
Dude, the average speed on this team is base 111.
Lord.
Which is just stupid. And there are webs. So.
Yeah, there are webs. I didn't even clue into that.
God, it's fucking crazy. Beyond that, Dragapult in round 2 is the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my entire life, just so we're clear. I didn't really understand it at the time. I don't understand it now. Meowscarada is another mon like Slowking Galar that I think should always be a fringe first round mon. Glad it went here. But yeah, I think Meowscarada was the plan. I think Dragapult just fell to him, and then it was just like, haha, funny. Let's just make everything be fast. And I think he did a good job doing that. But I think there are some issues. Now, obviously, this team is just fast wall breaker, 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 which kind of step on each other's toes. I think Screamtail it fit the theme really well, and it's a good defensive mon, but honestly, this team is kind of getting spammed by every Shadow Ball in the free world, every Moonblast in the free world, and I just think Revavroom was not the pick. I would have almost rather him went with something maybe lower tier than Hitmonlee to get a better steel type, because I think a good steel type with Screamtail, I would have liked Skarmory in this team. I think if you put Skarmory in this team, this is a scary team, because then you have good hazard support and you have a good wall core. But otherwise, it's kind of like this team gets like spammed by a lot of things, which is like, yeah, it's really fast and really offensive, so it might not matter. But I'm kind of concerned. Also for the fact that you can just run Trick Room into this team, and like sucks to be him because everything is fast. Um, so I think there's like a lot to be excited about this team. I mean, you look at the top four and it's like, holy shit, like Meowscarada, Dragapult, Cinderace, Iron Bundle on the same team. That's insane. But if you can get beyond that, like I think this team is also really weak to priority. This team is very poor into priority. Um, but the defense is really bad. The hazards are also really bad. Um, I don't know if he has a rocker. Does Revavroom get rocks? I don't think it does.
Yeah,
So
I have no idea.
his only rocker is Screamtail. I know Screamtail does get it, but Screamtail doesn't like running rocks. It does not like running rocks at all. And outside of that, I mean, he has like webs, I guess, and then he has like spikes on Meow, but like I feel like yeah, I mean, in this team, can probably afford to be spikes because you have Cinderace and stuff. But then your only removal is like Court Change Cinderace and then Hitmonlee with Rapid Spin. So it's like he just didn't give a shit about utility or removal or defense at all. It was just speed, 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 offense, 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 which again, the offense is really intriguing. It looks really fun. I just think it kind of steps on its own 2 feet a lot, but it'll be interesting to see how the average speed 111 team does. So we'll see. Also, thanks for sniping me on Jolteon. Still not over it. Okay. You said you didn't have a lot of notes for who, or you did have a lot of notes?
What?
Did you say you have a lot of notes for who or no?
I said I have 0 notes for who.
Perfect. I'll start. Okay, so starting off, this team is gross. What did we expect from who? An advocate for Stall. We have the interesting Darkrai Cresselia duo, like that. Good for you. Even though I hate both the mons. Darkrai's a fraud. Darkrai's shit. But you know, we'll see.
He had to take out the shit word.
Dude, it's made worse by Dragapult was on the board.
Like this man could have had Dragapult and whatever else he wanted, and he said, "Nah, I'm gonna do Darkrai." What are we doing? Darkrai is a fraud. I think it's been proven at this point. Like, I don't need to harp on it anymore. But I gave it an A- because the team is top to bottom really good. I think this is a decent team to support Darkrai. I think Goldango and Gliscor is cringe, nefarious activity. Goldango Gliscor is the reason that Gliscor was in Ubers for a little bit until DLC 2 got released. Just because Gliscor can set up spikes and rocks, and then obviously you can't spin or defog on Goldango. So, and you can't mortal spin it either. So Goldango's the ultimate spin blocker and hazard keeper, and you have good ways of putting up hazards. So really gross. Also really good defensively. Then you have something like Quack, which Quack is really good. I think Fist used it pretty well last season. Solid rapid spin mon. I think Hatterene is interesting in this team. I don't know if I like it in this team. But it means that who can't be reversed hazard stacked, which is pretty nice. I like the Entei here. I think Entei actually fits really well because up until the point, this team is a little grass weak. So we'll see how Entei goes. I really would have preferred it to be the Terra Captain. Just because I think Terra Normal E-Killer Entei is like really, really good. But I like Entei in this spot. Ursaring's really good defensively. Terra Cresselia is disgusting. Don't ever run that. Especially Poison. You were just not kind. Terra Calera. What?
You can Thunder Wave it.
That's true. And you could taunt it. But like, I don't want to. I just want to kill it. I just want to one-shot it. I've been a big advocate of Terra Calyrex. I think it can do stuff. Maybe not with those Terras. I don't know about the Dragon. I would have preferred like Fairy, but we'll see. And then I think Pheasantipity is really good for this team. So overall, it's just a top to bottom, really, really good team. I think it capitalizes on the Goldango Gliscor really well. Like I said, good hazards, good speed tiers. Overall, just a solid team. So we'll see how this one goes. I don't want to play this defense, dude. This shit is cringe. All right. Do you have anything to say? Have you gathered your thoughts?
So I'll say a couple things if the things are good things to say, like not bad things, but like coherent things. Just Darkrai is one of those mons that if it is the best mon on your team, your team's kind of struggling a little bit. But I do think he's made up for that fact with his defense being so good. Um, a little bit. I'm just gonna skip down to Pheasantipity and talk about that thing. Whenever we initially teared these things in Showdown League, we thought that thing would be the worst out of the three. Um, I am of the opinion that is the best out of the three, and Monkey Dory is a
Unfortunately,
fucking
same.
fraud.
Yeah.
But he used Fez really well last season, and I think he's gonna continue to use that thing really well. He actually gets his toxic chain procs. Freaking, I'm so happy somebody drafted Entei because that thing's such a good mon. It literally is daddy. Um, yeah, Entei's daddy. You can quote that. Um, uh, I'm done talking.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think the whole trios they're all frauds, but I think Pheasant Dippy's not a fraud because it's not priced really highly.
I mean, hold on. Technically, they are literally frauds lore wise.
That's true,
They're
actually.
literally frauds.
Canonical frauds,
If you've seen the
but
Kitakami story in DLC 1, you would know that they are literally frauds.
canonically frauds. But that's a good point. I think it's more properly tiered. I have actually never seen Okidogi used. I don't know if that means it's like awful in the tier, but I like Pheasant Dippity. You're right. He did use it pretty well last season. And the point about Darkrai being the best mod on your team is also another really good point, which is why I think it's a solid team because I don't think the whole team has to run through Darkrai.
Yep.
Like I think Goldango Gliscor is really really good. I think Quack is a menace in its own right. It's shown that numerous times since the start of the generation. So it'll be an interesting team for sure. But that wraps up all of our teams. Any closing thoughts you want to say?
I'm excited to see you use Venusaur really well with its
Oh,
thick
yep.
ass.
It'll come to a lot of games. God damn it! Why'd you make my team so ground weak?
You're welcome. I
You
just want to see you get a sweep with Venusaur. That's your goal for the season.
know what? Deal. As long as you bring Sunny Day in the game against me.
Okay, I will bring Sunny Day turn 1, and then you will immediately swap into Venusaur.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for our ASL Wi-Fi Season 2 draft analysis. Maybe we'll do some more content throughout the season, but that'll do it for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.